What's up guys, NFX here with another tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to talk about just making a simple ZGE Visualizer, but in doing it I'm going to explain how the layering works a little bit and how the buffers work a little bit to help you understand that, so as you create your own, maybe you can do things in a better way. So for this example, I'm not going to load in a full song. I'm just going to have FL Studio create a song for me. So let's just, let me hide my browser. We'll go to the loop starter mode and we'll just pick something to work with. Let me try something maybe lo-fi. And let's take a listen. That's good enough. I don't see any problem with that. So that's going to be the music we're going to use. Now, when you're doing a ZGE Visualizer, it's important to remember a few things. Hopefully, I won't forget to tell you about them. The first thing is make sure you're on the master channel. You can be on other channels, but if you were on a different channel, it might limit what other channels are available to you for using if you wanted to hook up a visualizer to a specific audio channel. And in this example, we're going to do that exactly. We're going to hook into the drum audio channel, which is already routed to mixer track 1, so we're already looking good there. So I'm going to go ahead and start the visualizer, and I'm just going to lay it out a bit how I like to work with it. And we're going to begin. Now, the idea for this came from a video that I saw on YouTube. And so the idea itself is I'm taking an idea from a video that I already saw, and I'm going to try to remix it, not recreate it exactly, but I'm using that as my inspiration. I went back into my history to try to find it so I could give a proper credit to the person who made the video, and unfortunately I could not find it. So I apologize if someone sees a similarity between their effect and what I'm about to show you. Go ahead and post in the comments that that it's you, and I'll be totally okay with giving you the credit for the main idea. Although I don't know that you made it in FL Studio, I'm going to recreate it somewhat in FL Studio. Now in this project, I'm also going to create the assets for it using AI. And that's one of the places where I feel like AI is a great tool. And let me just show you, I've already created some of the assets that we're going to use. So we're going to use a background and a logo. And if I go into the my browser here, you can see I've created a couple assets here. Actually, here I'm only going to be using the cityscape asset right here. But just to show you, maybe we'll create a new one. But you can go into something like this site, leonardo.ai. They give you 150 free credits a day. So we're going to go in here, and what I'm going to tell it is to make a cityscape at night, looking down from a rooftop on a well-lit night scene. Maybe something like that. You could do whatever you want. You might want to do a nature scene. You might want to do whatever, a space scene or something like that. But figure out what the scene you want. You want to do it in 16:9 because you want it widescreen. So this one looks fine to use. We'll go ahead and download that. And then I made a logo. Now, one thing about Leonardo is here you can see I tried to make an NFX logo. And I told it a solid white NFX logo with a solid border around it on a transparent background. And what I learned is that Leonardo cannot do transparent backgrounds. I think Leonardo is based off Nano Banana AI, which cannot do real transparent backgrounds. But ChatGPT can do transparent backgrounds. So I redid it in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT also allows you a certain number of free requests per day. So you can see I just did this solid white NFX logo with a solid border around it on a transparent background, and it created exactly that. And you can see it's transparent. So I've downloaded these things already, and that's really all we're going to need to get started. So we're going to go to add content, and in the content field, we're going to drag over the two things that we've created for it. So we have the cityscape at night. I've dragged it in, and the logo, I've dragged that in. And the text, just for the sake of example, I'm going to give it a simple title. And we'll call it like chill night music. And then on one line and on another line, maybe we'll call it chill night playlist. And on the top line, on the second line, I'll put Warbeats music. And then we'll use that later on in our thing too. So we've put some text and we've put some images, and now we're going to go start building it. Now the way the visualizer works is, as you add things to the right, these layers will stack from bottom being leftmost and right being topmost. So keep that in mind. So the first thing I want to do, because I do know I want this as a background, is I want to put that background image in here. With respect to images, you can use Image Effects Image, or you can use HUD Image. They both have different advantages and disadvantages. For the sake of example, I'm just going to use Image Effect Image, and I'm going to set that image to the background that we just created using the AI. And you could see it here in the display. Now, the next thing I want to do is within this image, I might want to not have the entire image like that. I might want to zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to change the width and the height a little bit to bring in more of the city. And then I'm going to position it in a way that it's kind of showing you more of the city like this. So it's getting less of the rooftop there and more of the city. And then I do want that point here on the middle building to be showing. So we're going to leave that like so. The next thing I want to do is I want to give this a little bit of motion. So there's a post process here called handheld right here. And handheld, as you see, moves the image around a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom the image in just slightly to prevent the edges from being seen. And then I'm going to tweak the amount and the speed variation. I just want it to move slightly. And actually, there are presets here. Maybe smooth 1 is going to work. You can see how it's just moving around the image a little bit here and there. You could obviously figure out which either motion works best, or if you go to custom, you can control all these parameters to your liking. Generally, what I have found for this, I want a small amount. I just want it slightly moving and not too much shake in it, just a little bit of movement to give it a little life. So that's how I'm going to do it, just like that. So you can see it's moving around just a little bit. Okay, and then that's all I want for my background layer. So because I know this is done, these two things together work together. what I'll do is I'll take the right one and I'll hit 2 buffer. And what that does is it groups these two together. So you can see how they both turned green. That means now they're going to be used together, but I need to put them back onto the view because they're in what's called a buffer. Okay, they're not being displayed, but you can see down here I get a preview of what that buffer is like. And we'll get back to this in a second. So the next thing I want to do is I want to put my logo on here. And to do that, I'll go into Image Effects, Image again, and I'll find the image for the logo. And there it is, right there. And that all looks fine to me. But I want to add a couple things. I want to add some audio meters to this. So I'm going to leave it like it is for now. And then I'm going to insert some layers behind it. I'm going to insert 2 layers behind it, which means these 2 layers will be underneath the logo. Okay. And the first one I want to do, actually, I probably want to clone one. So let me delete one and then I'll clone the one I make. So I want to go to Peak Effects and go to Linear for this one. And Linear just drew this red linear effect here, but we're going to change that a bit. If I hit play, you'll see how the linear effect looks. Okay, and what I want to do with that is I want to shrink the size of it a bit so it'll fit within the boundaries of my NFX logo. I want to make that white, so I'll take out the saturation. I want to lower the number of bands to something like that. And then I want to move it up. So I want it to appear at the top. Now it does have that line at the bottom, which is great in terms of it's going to help me to line it up. Again, if you want to fine tune some of these, you can hold down Control, and I want to just slide it over somewhat like so. And now that looks good to me. But then I want that slightly behind here. So I'm going to move it down just about right there. So you could see that. Okay, and that looks good. That's exactly close enough to how I wanted it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate or clone this layer. And it'll have all the same colors and stuff like that. The only thing is I'm going to want to move it down, obviously. So I'm going to move it down. Okay, I just moved it to the side, which is not something I meant to do. One thing you can do is if you want these two to be identical, let's say in the X position, which I do, you can go over to the one that's good and say copy value. Go over to the secondary one and say paste value. And that'll put it back. Now what I meant to move was the Y position, which is the up and down. And I meant to move it down like this. But obviously I want it coming down instead of going up, although that might not be a bad thing to have it inside here, but that's not what my vision was. So what I'm going to do is on this one I'm going to change the polarity, and now it looks more like how I envisioned it. Okay, now I'm going to insert one more layer, and remember, because it's to the left of the image, it's going to appear behind it. And this is going to be another image layer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink it down and put it behind the text. So let me find the size to where it's actually fitting in the up and down parameter behind my text. Looks like there's good. And then let me just stretch it to the side like this. And then I'm going to tell it to do a solid color, and I'm going to mess with the hue saturation, and lightness to get the exact color I want out of it. For now, I'm going to leave it this dark blue, and we'll just leave it like this until we want to fine tune it later. Okay, so you could see now these four together are working to make that. But I do want to add one more effect here. And so, but this one I want it to affect all the ones below it, so I'm going to add it to the right. And this is another post-process effect, and this one's called Audio Shake. And so we'll bring that in. And what Audio Shake does is it'll make this grow and or shrink, as you could see. But I want to tie it into the drums only. So the drums are going to affect how this thing reacts. And that's it. That's exactly how I wanted it. Now, these five together that are gray are the ones working. I'm going to hit 2 buffer on the last one, the rightmost one. And now what that's done is it's grouped all of these together. Okay, so I have my background with the handheld camera look. I've got my logo with the audio bars, and they're in 2 different buffers. And now I can put these things together. So what I'll do is I'll add a couple more, and in the one that's to the left, I'm going to say image. But under image source, now you're going to see for every buffer I have, in other words, the green buffer B and the red buffer G, I will have in my drop down for image source, which means I can use those here. So now I'm going to use B. And B is showing me my background image, and you can see it's moving like I defined it. So that's all good. And then I'm going to use an image to the right of that, meaning it'll be on top of it. And I'm going to select my other output buffer from G, and there's that. Now the cool thing is that now that I have this image here, I can control all of these within this one layer. And what I mean is if I want them smaller or larger or positioned on the screen differently, I can just do that and they all move together. So that's one of the benefits of using a buffer like that. All right, so I have all that done, and now maybe the last couple things I want to do is I want to add some text. So I'm going to put two text things up here. Actually, I'm going to do this same thing I did before. I'm going to make one and then just clone it, as it's easier. And on these, I'm going to use HUD text. There are various ways of getting text in here. HUD text is the best way. So I would recommend that you do. Now you can see it's defaulting here to Chill Night Playlist, which is fine. The only thing I might want to do is move it. Let's say I want to move this down. I want to make the font bigger and different. So let me find a font. Maybe I'll use that font and I'll make it bigger like that. And then of course I have to move it over now so that it fits. We could do that. And then I'm going to clone this, which is going to make a copy of it. Now I have it overlaid on itself so you don't see it, but if I change the positioning here a bit, I'm going to put this underneath. I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to make it smaller font, and I'm going to change the font. Let me just find the font that I want to use. Maybe this font works okay. And I want to change the text line to use the Warbeats music line. And then I'm going to move that over. Something like that. And let me go back. I want to tweak a couple things. I want to move down the Chill Night Playlist a little bit. You could change the color and stuff, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to leave it like so. And then now when we play everything, you can see how it's all working together. And hopefully, I know I went through this pretty quickly, but hopefully you could see how we benefited by making these combinations of effects together and then just putting the rightmost one to a buffer, which allows us to use it later on as needed. We could have theoretically put these text ones into their own buffer too, and then added it as a layer on top of everything else. And in some cases, that's a good way of doing it, because you can add drop shadows and do other effects to just the text if I had done that. But part of why you group it to the buffer is so that the effects that you use don't affect the other things. For example, even though the background is moving around slightly, you notice the logo isn't. And even though the logo bounces, you notice nothing else bounces, because I've only got it affecting inside of this group here, which goes to the buffer. Now, as you use buffers, let's just say I insert one here, insert a layer, and I just hit to buffer, it'll turn green. So your buffers will alternate between red and green. So you'll never have two red buffers next to each other. There'll always be a green buffer, then a red buffer, then a green buffer, etc. So by doing that, you can group it. And just maybe to finish off this particular thing, let me go ahead and I'm going to move the text over into this other buffer. And then, so I can work with it better, let me put it on the screen here. We'll go to image, and we'll tell it to get from buffer layer L. And I'm going to add one more thing here. It's a post process, and it's going to be the dub switcher drop shadow. And I don't know why it's not functioning, but I can see the preview here is correct. There we go. I just had to refresh it. Okay, but now you could see it's there. But now it has a drop shadow, and in order to make the drop shadow a little bit clearer, let's go ahead and show you that by just turning it on here. And we could change the color of it. And do whatever it is we need to do there. But yeah, so you could see now I have three different buffers. I have my text with its drop shadow, my logo with the audio visualizers, the blue background, and the bouncing to the drums, and I have my background with its handheld camera thing. So I've got three distinct buffers here, and then I use three images to display those buffers stacked on one another. And then when I hit play, you can see they all function without affecting each other. And that's how you use buffers. And everything I've done here in this particular one, you should be able to emulate it exactly using the same tools. Leonardo.ai for your background, ChatGPT for your logo. Make sure to remember to ask it to be transparent. And then you could put your own text in there, and away you go. And let me know if you guys like this topic, because if so, I'll make some more ZGE visualizers using other effects and showing you guys other ways of putting things together. So hopefully you enjoy it, and I will catch you guys in the next one.